Hi, welcome everybody from TechnoLost to the video review of the Samsung Galaxy S4. Well, here we are finally for this review of the Galaxy S4 after all the dedicated focus I made on this great device. So let's just perform a quick hardware specs recap. I'll do remind you that this is the version GT9505, so this is nothing but the international version of this Galaxy S4. Having a CPU which is the APQ 8064T, which is the evolution of the previous 8064. It's called Snapdragon 600 and it's a quad-core CPU clocked at 1.9 GHz. It's a quad-core, of course, with a production service of 28 nanometers. Then we have the well-known Adreno 320, as well as 2 GB of DDR3 RAM. So the main differences between the Snapdragon 600 and the previous architecture, it's nothing but few megahertz more, and here we even have more megahertz thanks to Samsung that slightly overclocked this Snapdragon 600, usually clocked at 1.7 GHz, here it's 1.9, and of course the possibility to use DDR3 memory. So moreover, we have this beautiful 5 inches Full HD display with a resolution of then 1920 for 1920 sorry for 1080, and we have the density which is 440 ppi, so very high density covered by Gorilla Glass 3, Corning Gorilla Glass 3. Then we have LTE connectivity, of course, and we have a very good 13 megapixel backside illuminate sensor with a lens of aperture size of f2.2, so quite bright lens indeed. These are the main hardware specs of this device, so let's just see what we have for what concerns software side of the Samsung Galaxy S4. Of course, as you could spot from the lock screen, we have Android version 4.2.2. Here is what you can see. We can use the widget, the lock screen widget as usual for Android 4.2.2. Of course, moreover, here we have this small customization made by Samsung that let us use few quick launch app that maybe we are used to launch usually, so this could be really useful. We can, as you can see, remove or add any app that we want here. Moreover, we can decide whether to use just the launcher for the camera here. As usual for Android 4.2.2, we just have to swipe right to get directly into the camera UI. Here, this is the main lock screen, and we can even customize the info that we put inside the lock screen like this. We can of course change what we want right here. We can select the font, we can select whether to have background on the font or not. We can even decide the color of the background on the foreground, and we can of course, maybe of the foreground we cannot select the color, the background, and we can select whether to insert the clock info, just the date, or nothing. So many customization for what concerns the lock screen of this Galaxy S4. Moreover, we have many other settings. Few problem here. What's up? Okay. We have even this very nice unlock effect. This following light here is very nice, and we even have, when we have missed call or missed SMS or MMS, a notification directly into the lock screen, which is really useful with a small preview of the message or the info dealing with the missed call. So very good customization made by Samsung for this lock screen. We have, last but not least, even finally the quick music panel back into the lock screen. We used to have it up to Samsung Galaxy S2, but Samsung decided to remove them into Galaxy S3 and so on with the Galaxy Note 2, for instance. And finally we have them back on this Galaxy S4. So sorry if I stress you with this music panel here, but to me this is really useful because I use a lot to the device to listen to the music. So these are just few things dealing with the lock screen this Galaxy S4. We even have more customization made by Samsung for what concerns the notification area. These are nothing but the quick toggle panel as usual for Samsung, but what is really more interesting, given the fact that we are using Android 4.2.2, we can even have this panel grid view of the toggles. Here we can even decide to rearrange or not any single toggle. Like this, for instance, we could just keep pressing it and move it in another position, and we will swap the toggle with the other one where we move the previous on. So this is really interesting. We can even decide whether to activate the brightness adjustment bar into the here quick notification area. And what is really interesting, that if we select the automatic brightness mode, we can even decide whether to go slightly up or slightly a little bit more down for what concern automatic brightness level in respect of the normal settings. So if we have automatic settings set to 0, we can even decide whether to go one level up for concern minimum brightness level. This could be really interesting, and that is something that we used to see, for instance, in other devices like the iPhone itself. Then these are all the settings for what concern the lock screen. Now we will see what Samsung call Nature UI UX 2. I made a dedicated focus on the Nature UX 2 and all the new stuff introduced by this new interface, which is not so different from the previous Nature UI. As you can see, we even have pinch to zoom both in the home screen and in the app drawer. We sadly even have the same old problem for what concern folders. Samsung decide not to let us create automatically a folder just by putting two up, one on another. We have to expressly select the create folder with one of the icon, then select the name, and finally we can put another icon on it, so we will create a complete folder. And putting out of the folder the icon will destroy not destroy the folder itself. We must remove it expressly. Okay, so this is not the worst things of this Nature UX 2. To me, the main problem is that it's not completely smooth, it's not completely fluid, and this is maybe due to the rush that Samsung had to put this device on the market. So I'm expecting Samsung to update the device and to perform some optimization in order to achieve maximum smoothness with this Nature UX 2. Just a quick note, which is really interesting to me anyway. What is really strange, for instance, that with the Nature UX 2, although we have this new selector for the day, like the one that we can find inside the Galaxy Note 2, which is really useful, because of course I cannot I can stand this kind of selector. I'd rather have the circular ring selector that we can find usually into Jelly Bean. But nevertheless, what is really strange is that into the calendar we cannot set up a default reminder for any new event that we create. So as you can see, if we forget to assign a reminder to a new event, we will not have the alarm at all, which is really dumb to me. I'm hoping that Samsung will update this with because it's really a pity. So what else? we can talk about this is the keyboard, which is to me a very good keyboard. We have finally the numbers here, first selection, which is really useful. But what is less useful to me is the fact that we cannot decide where to deactivate this row of numbers on our wheel. This is really stupid, because when we use for instance, the keyboard in landscape like this, we cannot the single key become a little bit smaller, just in order not to occupy too much space on the panel. And this is really stupid, because the typing on the keyboard becomes really uncomfortable, being the single key too small. So maybe Samsung could let us choose whether to activate or not the single row of numbers. Nevertheless, the keyboard is working very good word prediction. We even have many settings, like here we can decide where to have on voice dictation. We can even insert manually written text. This is very interesting. We can decide where to have all the clipboard content that we previously copied to the clipboard, or even cut, of course. Or we can, for instance, decide where to take a picture of text to have automatic recognition based on what we took, of course, using the camera. We have the settings, we have normal keyboard, and we even have this new floating keyboard, which is to me nice, but not that useful after all. So we even have, of course, wiping, so we can write just swiping here, or we can even decide, just going into the settings, for instance, whether to have cursor control. Of course, we can just select one of these two options, so continuous input or cursor control. If we select cursor control, we can, for instance, just move inside the text, or as you can see, the continuous input is not working, but moving our finger on the keyboard let us move the cursor into the written text, which may be really more useful to someone. So you can decide, you're free to decide whether to use the continuous input or the cursor control. So this one is really useful. Nevertheless, being the fact that I don't have the comma here as a standalone key, this keyboard is not useful to me, because I use quite a lot of comma here. So I'd rather use Swipey just for the comma problem. So this is for what concerns the keyboard of this new Galaxy S4. So a few other things. I forgot before to tell you that these are the quick toggle, as I told you before. If we just press once, we activate or deactivate the single toggle, but keep pressing it and we get directly into the menu. Samsung with this Galaxy S4 made so many customization. Just to give you an idea, another interesting customization is the fact that inside the Wi-Fi settings we can even decide where to have Wi-Fi timer, which means that we can select at which time the Wi-Fi automatically turns on and at which time the Wi-Fi automatically turns off. So Samsung has made so many customization this Galaxy S4 that it's crazy. Then I already talked to you in a dedicated focus about the multimedia capabilities of this device. We have a very good video player, The only strange things here is that if we start looking at the video into the gallery, we won't have the position recording. I mean the minute or the second where we left watching the video. If we get back, we don't start from the point that we left. Or to have this kind of option, we have to use directly the video app to see the video and not the gallery. This is really strange. I already talked to you about the quality of the video camera, which is to me wonderful, both for what concern pictures and for what concern video recording. So many capabilities. The UI is great. I mean, we have so many options, even the dual side recording and taking picture, which is in some situation could be really interesting and maybe even useful. So a very good job for Samsung for the multimedia side of this Galaxy S4, given even the adapt sound feature that, as I told you, it's a kind of audio task that let us adjust the volume and the equalization of this Galaxy S4 for what concern both the headphones and the speaker here, exactly for your ears. So this is really great. You must try to see what I mean. So what else? Speaking about software, we cannot left aside the browser. This process is really particular. For the first time, Samsung use Chrome-based browser. So since the first time I used this browser, I thought there was something really strange. We don't have flash capabilities here. We don't even have the possibility to use full screen. As you can see, this bar here, navigation bar, it's always on. We cannot put it off or deactivate it in any way. We don't have enough, of course, the quick panel coming from the side of the phone. So these things were really sounding strange to me. So using this device the first days for connecting to my TechnoLost page on Facebook, I realized from Facebook notification email that I was using Chrome-based browser. So I even investigated further, analyzing the browser agent to see that this browser is based on an old 18 version of Chrome. So what this means, we don't have flash, as I told you, we don't have full screen, but moreover, as you can see, the browser is not completely smooth, it's not completely fluid, or at least it's not such a great experience as Samsung used to give us for what concern internet browsing with its previous browser. So it's pity that we don't have the stock Android browser for this Samsung Galaxy S4. Let's hope that Samsung, given the fact that it was so good in optimizing the full stock browser, will be as good as well in optimizing this Chrome-based browser. So we saw more or less all the aspect of this Galaxy S4, so we can sum up and see the pro and the cons. Let's start with the cons. The first things I want to tell you is that, as I told you, that maybe Samsung was a little bit too in a hurry to put this device on the market, that this device is not completely optimized. And the first things you will see is that not completely battery consumption optimized. Just an example, starting the device at 100% battery, if I leave it on the table, resting on the table without even touching it, without doing anything, in an hour I will lose 5% of battery. And given the fact that the signal was at a maximum level, this is way too much to me. Samsung has really, many ways to improve this device, and the first things that it has to improve is the battery consumption, of course. What else? I told you that The fact that the device is not optimized can be seen just using the device every day. You will see a few stuttering here and there. The device is not completely smooth, and this is really a pity. But nothing dramatic anyway, and nothing that cannot be resolved by a normal software update. So I'm sure that Samsung will correct and will give the best, will take out the best from this device with few software updates. Then the other cons I want to tell you is a small fact that the calendar doesn't have a default alarm settings for the new event created. The browser, as I told you, is not on par on the usual Samsung experience for what concerns internet browsing, as it's a Chrome-based browser, and maybe we have too many software customization made by Samsung for this device. To me, just few of them are really useful. The other are just to show off and nothing more. But let's speak about the Pro now. We have for sure a very great design. Yeah, maybe some of you will not agree with me, but just let me explain you. Like many of you, the first time I saw this device presented, I thought, oh god, another plastic device. These were my first thoughts. But as soon as I was able to touch the device, to use it, to feel it, I saw that the design was not bad at all. Was not bad at all, because although it's just polycarbonate, so it's nothing but plastic, nevertheless it's very tough device. No cracking, no strange sound while using it. Just feel sturdy device. And moreover, the design is not bad. It's very thin. It's very light for the size. And the fact that Samsung was able to put such big display, 5 inches, into the same body of the Samsung Galaxy S3, having it even a little bit thinner and a slightly slightly the opposite of heavy, lighter, slightly lighter than the Galaxy S3. It's incredible, really. If you give a look at this device, you will see that it has a gorgeous display in such a small space. This is incredible, and it is even more noticeable if you use the black version, given the fact that the bezel around the display is black. What else? The display itself is gorgeous. Let me tell you, it's gorgeous. Finally, Samsung was able to create a super AMOLED display with a good temperature for what concerns the white, and with very good direct sunlight view for this display. The Galaxy S3 was terrible for what concerned direct sunlight, but this device is easy usable under direct sunlight, and this is very good. Of course, we have all the other goodness of this display. It's gorgeous, very good contrast, color saturation. We can even set up the color temperature for what concerns the device, so if you want, you won't have such a saturated color. Great viewing angles and really good resolution, although having an open tile matrix. So this is one of the best Super AMOLED display I was ever able to see. Just few other pro, as and many other Samsung Galaxy devices, as the Galaxy S3 for instance, we have USB host connectivity, of course, and as the Galaxy S3 and as the Galaxy Note 2, we are even able to use not only pen drive but even hard disk to this connected to this Galaxy S4. I was able to connect my 2.5 mobile hard disks with a capacity of 500 gigabyte without any kind of problem. And to me, this is a very good plus for this Galaxy S4. Although, we even have a very good camera. As I told you in the dedicated photos, we get wonderful picture in daylight, very good picture even in night mode, using night mode of course. Very good video, very high bit rate, very low noise level. So this is maybe the first Android device with one of the best camera on the market nowadays, really. Even for concern camera UI or camera feature, given all the shot mode and the dual recording functionality, is a very good camera. So these are all the pro for what concern this Galaxy S4. So the final thoughts to me, this is a very good product. Samsung of course didn't make a revolution, but just a very good evolution of the previous model. I mean the Galaxy S3. It's being able to update all the weakness of the previous Galaxy S3, although maybe introducing too much noise for what concerns software, given the fact that we have maybe way too many customization in this Galaxy S4. But sometimes it's just better to have more possibility than less, at least if we are able to disable what we don't want to use. So that's all for what concern. I mean, I told you about the few downside, the fact that it's not completely smooth and maybe way too much battery consumption. I mean, with my use I was able anyway to reach the end of the day, although with other devices I end up the day with from 40 to 45% battery left. Here I close the day with 30-35 percentage battery left, which is not too much, but nevertheless I was able to end up the day with my medium usage, which is made most of all of Twitter, 6 Gmail account, 1 Exchange account, Push, and 1 Yahoo account. So many emails account, of course, Twitter, and browsing, few phone call, WhatsApp, and so on. So I hoped I covered all at least most of the things you may be interested in for what concerns this Galaxy S4. Once more, thanks for watching, and bye from TechnoLost.